This is gross. How does Rocky drink this? Drinking raw eggs might give you salmonella? Yeah, this joke was not worth it.
If it's not apparent, I absolutely adore the Rocky films. While they'll appeal to anyone who enjoys boxing, they're really character pieces set around Rocky Balboa himself that anyone can enjoy. They showcase both the ups and downs of his life and his struggles, with a lot of the emotional turmoil being played out in that classic final boxing match at the end of the film, which is usually the appeal of so many boxing films. And with the upcoming release of Creed 2, it's the perfect time to look through the entire franchise from Rocky to Creed and track its evolution. What's up guys, I'm Dave Klein, and this is the history of Rocky films. We have plenty of history videos exploring other classic franchises, such as The Predator, Spider-Man, or Halloween. So if you enjoyed this video, why not check out one of those and KO that subscribe button. That said, let's enter the ring and start where it all began. Rocky 1 and the story of Sylvester "Sly" Stallone. Before Rocky, Sylvester Stallone was an aspiring actor who moved to New York City and even got a part in the film The Lords of Flatbush. This prompted him to try moving out to California.
And I moved in the Valley, and things weren't going very, very well there. As a matter of fact, I had to go out and try to sell my dog.
While Sly was hovering around poverty, he saw something that would completely change his life and become the major influence for his first film, Rocky. Okay, not the obvious rabbit punches, but this. The fight was Muhammad Ali vs. Chuck Wepner in early 1975. This fight was notable in that Chuck Wepner was a major underdog, and nobody thought he had a chance against Muhammad Ali, including Ali himself, who didn't train for the fight. In the 9th round, Wepner scored a knockdown against Ali, which would serve as the major inspiration for Rocky.
Watch Wepner with his right hand where he hits Ali, right by the heart. Just watch for the punch. There's the left hand that sends him back. Now watch this punch. Bang! And it caught Ali by total surprise. Watch it again.
Well, it looks like Chuck Wepner probably tripped Muhammad Ali here by stepping on his foot and cheated with constant rabbit punches, which are super dangerous.
Rabbit punch? なんだ? Rabbit? 後頭部を叩き、脊髄に直接ダメージを与えるパンチ。最も脳障害が起こりやすい。
The fact that Wepner managed to get a knockdown on Ali served as a major inspiration for Sylvester Stallone and would be the spark that would turn into Rocky.
So I started to write, and it was one of those writing frenzies, and 3 days later, I came up with the script of Rocky.
The tone was much darker than what Rocky would become, with Mickey being racist and Rocky throwing the fight at the end. But with the advice of his then wife, Stallone rewrote the script to what we now know. Additional boxer inspirations were incorporated, which I'll touch on as we get to them. By a complete stroke of luck, on the way out from a casting call he wasn't right for, Sylvester Stallone was talking to the producers and brought up that he had a script about boxing. They asked him to bring it by, read it, and absolutely loved the script. But they didn't want to use him and wanted to use a popular actor for the role of Rocky. The poverty-stricken Sylvester Stallone, who had $106 in the bank and had to sell his dog, was offered over $330,000 for the purchase of his script, so long as he didn't act in it.
And I thought, all right, you've really managed poverty very well. You've got this down to a science. So I thought, you know what? If I know in the back of my mind, if I sell this script and it does very, very well, I'm going to jump off a building, and if I'm not in it. So this is one of those things where you just roll the dice and you fly by the proverbial seat of your pants and say, all right, I got to try it.
By taking this risk, Stallone got the producers to agree to giving him $1 million to make the film, and production began. In the film, the down-and-out boxer, Rocky, is offered the chance of a lifetime when the heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed, has his upcoming match canceled due to an injury his opponent has suffered. Apollo Creed, who's loosely based on Muhammad Ali with his talkativeness and charisma, decides to set up a match with a local boxer in order to make a spectacle out of the match.
And I'll tell you why. Because I'm sentimental. And a lot of other people in this country are just as sentimental, and there's nothing they'd like better than to see Apollo Creed give a local Philadelphia boy a shot at the greatest title in the world on this country's biggest birthday. Now that's the way I see it.
Carl Weathers, who plays Apollo Creed, was actually cast just a couple days before filming started on Rocky. Originally, the role was going to be played by real-life boxer Ken Norton. However, Norton pulled out days before in order to compete in the ABC Superstar competition.
Then he sits back down and goes, Mr. Avildsen, I could do much better if you had a real actor reading with me. He goes, well, Carl, that's Rocky. That's the guy who wrote the script. He goes, oh, maybe he'll get better. You know what? I said, please, hire him. He's great.
The same night Carl Weathers was cast would be the same night Rocky's love interest, Adrian, would also be cast. While Susan Sarandon had auditioned for the role, she was considered to be too pretty for the part, and it was Talia Shire who would end up nabbing it. Though Rocky is ultimately a story about a boxer, much of that involves his character meeting and falling in love with his good friend Paulie's sister, Adrian. Some of this was actually impromptu, with several moments being altered in the script due to budgetary issues. On Rocky and Adrian's first date, they head to an ice skating rink. However, the script called for 300 extras, and they could only afford one. So Stallone, who couldn't even ice skate, rewrote the script on the spot to accommodate for both of these factors, with Rocky goofily walking alongside Adrian on the ice after he's bribed a worker for 5 minutes on the ice. Eventually, Rocky is the one chosen and offered the chance to fight Apollo Creed, which, amazingly, Rocky at first turns down.
My proposition's this. Would you be interested in fighting Apollo Creed for the World Heavyweight Championship?
No.
As amazing as that response is, Rocky does eventually agree to the fight, mainly so he can prove to himself that he can go the distance, and not even with the prospect that he might win the fight. In some of the most memorable scenes from Rocky, we see him slowly getting to shape for the fight with this unique regimen of punching animal carcasses and the iconic moment when he runs up the stairs of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. According to an interview for The Guardian, Rocky's training was inspired by the training regimen of longtime Muhammad Ali rival Joe Frazier. Frazier claims that both of these iconic scenes were things he'd actually done in his own training, which inspired Stallone, and he never received credit. Frazier does, however, make a cameo in the film when the moment finally arrives for Rocky to fight Apollo Creed.
Philadelphia's own Smoking Joe, the beloved Mr. Joe Frazier.
That said, I think some of it's coincidental. According to Garrett Brown, who did camera work on the film, a few months prior to the filming of Rocky, he'd actually used the steps in order to help sell a Steadicam rig he'd invented, filming his then girlfriend and now wife on the steps.
Within months, the man who was about to direct Rocky, John Avildsen, saw that demo and he said, "Oh my God, how did you do that? And where are those steps?" And that's why that shot is in Rocky.
Like the Muhammad Ali vs. Chuck Wepner fight, Rocky manages both to knock down Apollo Creed, causing him to take their fight seriously, and to go the distance with Creed. And while Rocky eventually loses the fight by decision, the film ends with him at the zenith of his moment. He's proven to himself he's more than just a bum and a good fighter. And in that moment, Adrian professes that she loves him, making it the greatest moment of his life. What Rocky managed to capture was absolute magic. Rocky didn't need to win the fight, and that's part of what made the movie so great and memorable. And crazy enough, the making of Rocky was a Rocky story within itself.
Then finally, it was being shown at the Directors Guild, and this was going to be the test. And the movie was playing terribly. The laughs weren't coming where they're supposed to, and the fight itself seemed to be listless, the response was, and I sat there and literally, there was no one left in the theater, because I was humiliated and saddened by the whole thing. I was walking down the steps, and there's 3 flights down. The entire audience was down there. There was 900 people waiting, and they started to applaud, and I mean truly applaud. And it's like, I just completely came apart.
Rocky was an insurmountable success story. While the budget was only around $1 million, roughly $4.3 billion today, it made $225 million worldwide, roughly equal to $967 million today. Not only did it capture the hearts of viewers, but it was also critically successful, winning the Academy Award for Best Picture in 1977. With the insane success of Rocky and the meteoric stardom of Sylvester Stallone, it was inevitable the film would get a sequel. Stallone set about writing the script. However, former director John G. Avildsen dropped out due to being busy working on Saturday Night Fever. Sly petitioned that he himself should be the director, even though he was also acting in it, and United Artists were against it, especially as he directed his follow-up to Rocky, Paradise Alley, and the film had been panned. The film's producers fought for him, and eventually he was given the go-ahead to direct. This time around, strongly prompted by Adrian, Rocky is done with fighting. He marries Adrian, and the prospect of what he's going to do instead of fighting comes up, especially now that he has money.
How's about investing in condominiums? It's safe.
Condominiums?
Yeah, condominiums.
I never use them.
Not used to having money, Rocky blows it all immediately and falls right back into dire straits. While he attempts to use his newfound fame to star in commercials, his inability to both act or read takes even this out of the cards for him, and Adrian is forced to work at the pet shop again while Rocky takes Paulie's old job working in the meatpacking plant. Fortunately for Rocky, Apollo Creed has been slammed with hate mail that he didn't really win his fight against Rocky and that the fight was fixed. Apollo sets about a smear campaign against Rocky in order to get him to fight again. Despite concerns about a detached retina, Mickey once again helps train Rocky for the fight of his life, this time telling Rocky to fight as a righty instead of as a southpaw in order to throw off Creed and protect his bad eye. This plot development actually came from an onset injury. While Stallone was bench pressing to train for the role, he ripped his left pectoral muscle, needed surgery, and could no longer fight with his left hand. The actress who played Adrian was busy shooting old boyfriends, and due to her schedule conflict, Stallone also rewrote elements of her role. Rocky and Adrian have a baby together, and she ends up watching the fight from home with the newborn. This time around, Rocky wins his fight against Apollo Creed, becoming the new heavyweight champion of the world. Like the first Rocky, Rocky II was once again a major success, so a third installment would be on its way in 1982. And this is when the films start to feel a little formulaic, but the third one's still fun and has its moments. In the third installment, Rocky has won 10 title defenses in 3 years. He has a charity bout with a wrestler named Thunderlips, played by Hulk Hogan, and is so beloved, he receives a statue at the top of the now famous Rocky Steps commemorating him. This statue was commissioned by Sylvester Stallone for the film and can still be found in front of the Philadelphia Spectrum. During the unveiling of his statue, he's challenged to a bout by Clubber Lang, portrayed by Mr. T, who calls him a coward for declining his fight challenges, which it turns out was Mickey's doing. Mr. T, who was unknown when first cast, was eyed by Sylvester Stallone during a competition aired by NBC titled America's Toughest Bouncer. Stallone called him in and eventually cast him as Clubber Lang, kickstarting Mr. T's on-camera career. In fact, Mr. T's famous catchphrase, "I pity the fool," while inspired by something he himself had said during the competition, was a line Stallone wrote for him in Rocky III.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool.
During Rocky's first fight against Clubber Lang, he doesn't train seriously, and Clubber Lang shoves Mickey, causing Mickey to suffer from a heart attack and die. A grieving Rocky loses the match and falls apart in grief until Adrian picks him back up and Apollo Creed offers to train Rocky for a rematch against Clubber Lang. With the help of Apollo Creed, Rocky is able to defeat Clubber Lang in the rematch, once again regaining his title. In exchange for the help, Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa have a private rematch, and the stage is set for Rocky IV. Oh, Rocky IV. This is when things in the series went a little haywire, and so very, very 80s. And I kinda love it for that. The film starts out with what's probably the greatest scene in all of Rocky history, the moment when Paulie receives a birthday present from the now obscenely rich Rocky.
Happy birthday, Paulie.
What is this?
I polled my Twitter followers about what the greatest moment in Rocky history was, and somehow 100% of them said it was the Happy B-Day Polly robot. According to Robert Dornick, creator of the robot, it was built to help work with autistic kids. Sylvester Stallone, finding out about this, wanted to use the robot to help treat his son and offered to write the robot into the film, eventually writing more and more lines involving it. This time around, a new challenger has arrived from Russia, Ivan Drago. As this was the height of the Cold War, tensions were high and insults from the two countries are slung back and forth. While Rocky doesn't want to fight, Apollo Creed does, and comes out of retirement to support his country and make a mockery of Ivan Drago. This, however, goes the exact opposite way, and Drago ends up killing Creed in the ring. A distraught Rocky decides to take on Ivan Drago himself, and 2 montages later, travels to Russia to train for his fight in a cabin in the wilderness. For the training, this time around, Stallone consulted with boxing trainers, and the film features not 1, but 2 training montages in a row. In fact, out of curiosity, I decided to time out just how much of this film is montages. The total runtime of Rocky IV is 1 hour and 31 minutes. The first 3.5 minutes are the ending to the previous film, as all Rocky films have done. I'm going to call the James Brown / Apollo Creed song number a montage, which is another 3 minutes. The driving montage is 4.5 minutes. Traveling to Russia, which is basically a montage, another 2.5 minutes. Training part 1 and growing a beard is another 3.5 minutes. And the second training montage is yet another more than 4 minutes. And as much as I like this part of the film, to be fair, since it is a montage, the usual boxing montage while the rounds pass is another 3.5 minutes. That means over 21 minutes of the film are montages, with 3.5 minutes being the end of the third film. So basically, only 1 hour and 6 minutes of the film aren't a montage. And look, if you enjoy that, totally fine. For me, I need a little more meat in between my montages. In an epic fight where somehow both Drago and Rocky forget how to slip punches and don't understand the meaning of putting your hands up to block a punch so every haymaker lands, and also do wrestling throws, they both survive and Rocky wins the fight in the end. The Russian crowd has for some reason switched sides to cheer for Rocky instead of their hometown boxer, and the Cold War is subsequently solved thanks to Rocky's speech.
What I was trying to say is that if I can change,
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился
and
сегодня.
you can change,
Вы можете измениться.
everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
And purely historically speaking, that's how the Cold War came to an end. But not the Rocky franchise, and what came next is probably the most contested film in the series. After the ridiculousness of the 4th entry, Stallone decided to take Rocky V back to the series' gritty roots. And while I don't personally mind this one, as the film at least broke the formula the series had been holding onto up until this point, a lot of people seriously hate this film, including Sylvester Stallone himself, who in later interviews has stated he was disappointed with the film and wanted to do a better job to give Rocky a better send-off. As it stands, after the bout with Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, Rocky has suffered brain damage, cavum septum pellicidum, which the doctors believe to be permanent, and therefore he can't fight again. From what I could find, this is pretty much one of the causes for being punch drunk, which is the layman's term for a boxer suffering from serious brain damage due to repeated punches to the head. And frankly, from the way they fight in the original Rocky series, without ever using their hands to actually block punches to their head like you're supposed to, it's not all that surprising. Look, I'm sure they wanted us to see the actors' faces, but Creed proved you could do that and still put your damn hands up! It drives me crazy when I watch some of these fights. Look, all you gotta do is this. Damn it, Aoki! No, that's not what I'm talking about! While Rocky's son, Robert Jr., was in Rocky IV, he's featured heavily this time around, with the film largely focusing on Rocky's relationship with his son. And while his son was much younger in Rocky IV, which takes place just days before Rocky V, this time around Robert Jr. is played by Sylvester Stallone's real-life son, Sage Stallone. George Washington Duke, a fight promoter eerily similar to Don King, attempts to provoke Rocky into fighting his boxer, which Rocky refuses. After the brain damage, things continue to go sharply downhill for Rocky. Paulie, being the idiot that he is, gets Rocky to unknowingly sign a paper giving power of attorney to Rocky's attorney, who squanders all of Rocky's money. Rocky and his family are forced to move back to the slums of Philly, and Adrian is forced to work in her old pet shop again while Rocky opens a gym to train boxers. At this point, a new boxer arrives in town who specifically tracked Rocky down to train with him, Tommy Gunn. Seeing potential in Tommy and a common love for boxing, Rocky slowly replaces his own son with Tommy, training Tommy, managing him, and spending all day with him. Somehow, in what definitely seems like less than a year, Tommy Gunn manages to go 22-0. That's 22 fights in 1 year, which is absolutely unheard of. New boxers maybe fight 1 match a month at most. Veteran boxers even less than that, as you need to train and prepare for your next fight, as well as recover from injuries from your previous fight before. So 22 is just madness. Anyways, Tommy Gunn is crazy impatient, and George Washington Duke offers him money and a title bout if he leaves Rocky's management and joins him. Gunn betrays Rocky, and Rocky finally comes to his senses and becomes a good father again. After Tommy wins the title bout, no one gives him respect for the way he betrayed Rocky, and prompted by George Washington Duke, he challenges Rocky to a match. Rocky refuses, and after Gunn knocks down Paulie, Rocky throws down with Gunn in an epic street fight outside. While Rocky wins the street fight in the movie, it was originally written that Rocky would die during the street fight, and this was the ending well into filming. The studio and Stallone eventually decided to change this, as they decided it didn't fit with the tone of the series. And I'm glad that happened, as it would allow for the release of another Rocky film 16 years later. Feeling like Rocky V was an inadequate conclusion to Rocky, in 2006, 16 years after the 1990 release of Rocky V, Stallone released another follow-up to the series, Rocky Balboa. The film was both released and takes place 30 years after the original Rocky. Adrian is dead, and Rocky, who considered her his life, is now at an all-new low. He's opened up a restaurant named Adrian's, which is actually pretty normal, with a lot of boxers and athletes in general opening up restaurants after their prime. Rocky is sentimental towards his past, and Stallone put in a lot of his own experiences of what it was like to be a has-been, but still have a lot of things left unsaid, while no longer having the same platform to say it. Rocky's relationship with his son has been slowly falling apart. He's still living in the past, and once a year, on the anniversary of Adrian's death, Rocky travels to all of the previous spots which held significance to their relationship, all while dragging along Paulie.
Ice is stupid. People standing on ice are more stupid.
While revisiting one such sentimental bar, he runs into another figment of his past, Marie, a kid Rocky had tried to lecture in the first film for hanging out with the wrong crowd. He pulls her and her son into his life, finally learning to create a new life out of what he has. At the same time, sports analysts have used new computer technology to simulate fights between famous boxers. They happen to simulate Rocky in his prime facing the current champ, Mason Dixon, and the simulation shows Rocky winning. This results in Dixon's management wanting to do the fight for real, as they can make a ton of money off of it. Rocky, wanting to fight again, manages to get reinstated to box again against everyone else's warnings, and decides to take the fight. While he'd suffered brain damage in Rocky V, and this is never addressed, Stallone explains he only got one opinion, it was a misdiagnosis, and he was just suffering from a really bad concussion. Rocky's son is furious with him, as he feels he's always lived in his father's shadow. He blames his lack of success on the bar Rocky has set, and this is in part why he's separated himself so much from his father. I bring this all up because at least my favorite moment in any of the Rocky movies, period. After being berated by his son, Rocky's had enough and firmly tells his son to stop blaming his failings on everything else. That life is hard, too bad, everyone has to deal with it, and it's cowardly to blame other people.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you.
Paulie's laid off from his job, which has become his life, and after all of this, Robert Jr., Paulie, and Marie's family all support Rocky in his venture to fight Mason Dixon. While this might sound crazy, with Rocky being well past his prime, it's actually not unheard of. As the movie itself mentions, George Foreman, at the age of 45, made a comeback and defeated 27-year-old Michael Moorer for the world heavyweight title via knockout.
Atlas, here we go again with the Atlas. Michael Moorer is down, goes Moorer on a right hand!
While Rocky doesn't manage to win the match against Dixon, similar to the first Rocky film, he's able to go the distance and prove himself to everyone, and that he still has that magic, regardless of his age. All of this leads us to the Rocky spin-off, Creed. This time around, Creed focuses on its title character, Adonis Creed, played by Michael B. Jordan, who's the son of Apollo Creed through an extramarital affair. After his mother's death and going through the youth detention program, Apollo Creed's former wife, Mary Ann, offers to adopt Adonis. At this point, he's raised to get a normal, well-paying job and seems to be succeeding, except that his passion lies in boxing. He's refused training as he already has a life and money, and for his safety, as he doesn't need it. So, Adonis travels to Philadelphia in order to find Rocky and get training from him. It's here that we find out it was actually Apollo who won the secret match at the end of Rocky 3.
Since we're pretty much like family, who won the third fight?
You did.
After some convincing, Rocky agrees to help train Adonis, as Apollo is like family to him. The two win their first major battle against an undefeated local boxer, and a media storm erupts when everyone realizes Adonis is Apollo's illegitimate son. As it so happens, the current reigning light heavyweight champion, Pretty Ricky Conlan, played by real-life boxer Tony Bellew, is in financial straits as he's about to be put away for gun charges and is screwed up an upcoming bout due to his unprofessionalism. Due to the media circus around Adonis and the money involved, Ricky Conlan's trainer forces Conlan into challenging Adonis to a fight. Rocky and Adonis eventually agree to this, but are sidetracked when it turns out Rocky has cancer, which we learn is how Adrian had died prior to Rocky Balboa. Having watched Adrian suffer through chemotherapy, Rocky doesn't want to go through with it, and is ready to die, having lost everything he loves, as even Paulie is now deceased, and his son has moved to Canada. Adonis forces Rocky to go through with treatment, telling Rocky he'll only fight in his match if Rocky fights cancer.
I ain't training if you don't get the treatment. So if I fight, you fight.
Creed trains to many of Rocky's old school training methods, including catching a chicken similar to Rocky 3. When Creed finally fights against Conlan, he loses due to a split decision, but manages to be the first person to ever knock down Conlan and goes the distance. He proves himself to be a worthy boxer and descendant of Apollo Creed, earning respect all across the boxing world. I do also want to make a note that the fight choreography and cinematography in Creed are absolutely spectacular. The boxers finally truly block and slip punches, and several of the matches are filmed in one take, which is insane. You'll even see cuts appear on the boxers without any apparent film cut, and it just blows me away. And so wraps up the history of Rocky films from Rocky to Creed. Are you as amped up for Creed 2 as I am? This time, he'll be fighting against Ivan Drago's son. Ivan Drago, who of course killed Adonis' father Apollo. He'll also be struggling with the fact that he now has a kid through his girlfriend Bianca. What's your favorite Rocky film and Rocky moment? Let us know in the comments below. And if it isn't Happy Birthday, Paulie, why isn't it? And I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Happy birthday, Paulie.